Now we're on the daybreak. We get into the first conversation of the day today. Now, President Advocate Duma Boko is on a state visit to Hungary, where he is scheduled to meet Prime Minister Dr. Viktor Orbán. The visit aims to deepen bilateral relations and explore areas of mutual interest. And so in studio, we have historian from the Association of History of Botswana Ramokotopo Serefete to look at the history, the economy, and the geopolitical evolution of Hungary and the strategic opportunities these present for Botswana. Re Serefete, welcome to the daybreak.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Good morning.
Good morning. Let's talk about what exactly Hungary is best known for. We have seen some evolution over the years, but if we can detail on the current economical strengths or whatever strengths that we see Hungary well known for right now, that Botswana can definitely benefit from.
Thank you very much for the question. There are two things that I would wish to touch on. The first thing that we need to appreciate is the fact that the country has a well-developed, infrastructure. It's reliable. You look at the tarmac, you look at the railway. So it's an infrastructure that is, efficient, if I may put it, that way. And then on the economy, it's a thriving economy. Manufacturing driven. They produce, a variety of, goods and services. So it's an economy. It's a free market kind of an economy. So you are looking at producing, pharmaceuticals, producing automobile parts, car parts, if I may put it in that way, the IT sector, the services sector. So it is a thriving economy, an economy that is actually, export-led. That is why you'd have, big firms from neighboring countries, the bigger economies, setting up, their businesses in Hungary because of, the economic, stability in that, country. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And actually what we're seeing right now is that it is now well known for its strong workforce, a very skilled manpower right there. And I think you're taking it the same way, that now we're having new job opportunities arising because of new investors coming up right there in Hungary to set up business. And also, if we can understand that political landscape, what are we seeing in that area and how it also influences the other sectors of the economy?
Well, we could say there is political stability. If you look at the current, Prime Minister, he's been in office since 2010. If you look at their foreign policy, you would say it is driven by their, political and economic interests. So there is political stability in the country. It is a country which perhaps we could say, pursues a foreign policy. What matters is the good that come out of our interactions with whoever we're interacting with. So you need to have a conducive, a stable political, kind of a situation for you to attract, investors. Because at the end of the day, politics has a bearing on the economy of the country. So you need to have, that stability. So the government that came into office under, the leadership of, Prime Minister Viktor, Orbán in 2010. Has ensured that there is that, stability. Of course, there might be, issues with, how they relate, with their neighbors, how they relate, with other, bigger, players in the political sphere, such as Russia, for example. Yeah.
Actually, since you have mentioned Russia, let's get into that, the relationship between Hungary and Russia. We're seeing them having those relationships. What does that mean for us, Botswana, now that we're getting closer as well to Hungary? Of course, we've always had some particular form of relationship with Hungary, but what does it mean now, now that we're seeing the two getting together and we're seeing ourselves also getting closer to Viktor?
Well, like I said, domestic needs, particularly the economic needs of a state, will dictate how that particular state relates, with other states. Now, if you take the relationship between, Hungary and Russia, it's a relationship that benefits the Hungarians because they get their oil, energy supplies, from Russia. So you need to have a relationship with that country. Now, the same with us. now that Hungary is close to the Russians, and we are trying to explore and deepen our bilateral relations, well, it means that we are saying, you know what, we want some, low-hanging fruits to come out of this relationship. Because if you are looking at the economy of, Hungary, like us, they are a landlocked, country. So for them, it is important to have relations with whoever they choose to have, as long as it is in their interests. And like I said earlier, foreign policy is about, the good that you get, you draw out of it. So theirs is pragmatic. And I think our approach is also pragmatic, because we are saying we want to benefit, we want to learn from, the experiences of the Hungarians, where they come from. Remember, at some point in time, they were not a democracy. Yeah. So democracy was ushered in 1991. So we are saying, let's learn from, your experiences. It is in our interest as a country. Remember, we're pursuing social justice, as a country. Like, the president would say, we are a human rights-based, administration or government. So for us, we are saying, if the Hungarians have managed to have a stable economy, an economy that actually draws us from outside, how about we get closer to them and draw lessons, from them? So it is in our interest really to have that particular relationship. So it's pragmatic. What matters is what works. What good do we derive out of, the relationship with the Hungarians?
Most definitely. Thank you so much for putting it out like that. Also, one thing I remembered when you were speaking is that their economy was actually also fueled, or their wealth was fueled by gold mining, which is one of the things that right now as Botswana we have to be looking into to say, yes, we became who we became because of diamonds, and now we also need to be looking out to other markets and to make sure that we draw in investors, even in other areas, of course. And we have seen also now, getting into the education sector, that now Hungary has doubled its sponsorship for scholarship for students from Botswana to Hungary. We are seeing a bit of that relationship, and also themselves now growing. If doubled their scholarships, it means something for the two countries. But really, in the education sector, what can Botswana draw from that? We have a number of things going on in our education system. The other day we were talking about how we are transitioning now from outcome-based education, which is something good we have invested in, but now we have to transition away from it or suspend it for a while. So what are those learning points that we can derive from Hungary?
Well, thank you very much for that, question, because I am also an educationist. Now, the drive is towards, education with production. That is what we are dealing with, as a country. The STEAM-based, curriculum says at the end of the learning process, learners should be able to display that which they are able to do. And like I said earlier, the Hungarian economy is a manufacturing sort of like based economy. So you need people with certain skills. Right? So you need to revolutionize the way you conduct your business within the confines of the classroom. And the visit by our president, remember, it is a working visit. It is intended to benchmark, to get, the finer points in terms of what it is that you're able to do, to be able to have a labor force that is productive. Right? Yes. And this is what actually draws, international investors to Hungary, because of the skills that the workers have. And where do they get the skills from? The education system, right, has been crafted in such a manner that it produces people with requisite skills, skills that the country's economy would need, right? So basically, that is why we need to undergo a sort of like revolution in terms of, our educational, our philosophy. It's not academics, it's academics plus that which you are able to do at the end of the day. So if we have the right skills, it becomes easier for us to attract foreign investors, right?
Yes,
yes, ma'am.
Most definitely. Now that we're actually getting onto that benchmarking, the benchmarking part of things, I think it's one of the questions that we have, Botswana. We are seeing ourselves benchmarking, even in different ministries going around benchmarking, and ourselves as well as Botswana, or as the presidential, we saw ourselves going to Estonia just the other day. So these benchmarking trips, let's talk about what the fruits are. Have we seen the fruits even before the new administration? Have we seen some outcomes out of benchmarking trips? Are we seeing change? Are we seeing ourselves benchmarking and actually coming to practice something different, something new? Or let me hear it from you.
Well, let me start here. Our chief diplomat is the head of state, the president of this republic.
Yes.
So it is absolutely necessary for him to embark on these trips, right?
Yes.
Because we are saying when you have bilateral relations with, your contemporaries, other countries, that would also be able to allow you to, to pick that which can benefit your people. Now, if the president stays home, how then does he get to draw lessons from, international, from the international community? So it is absolutely necessary for the country to engage in this benchmarking, exercise. Now, let's take the example of the recent visit by the president to Estonia. What are they renowned for? It's a soft economy, and we are drifting towards that. That we need to have an economy that is export-led. You are not only exporting, raw materials, but you're also processing, turning them into finished products. If you look at the IT sector, ICT sector, we want to be able to digitalize our economy, right? So you need to go benchmark, because this is what is working for Estonia. This is what people in Hungary are doing. So the visits are absolutely necessary. And what are the benefits? I think if you are a driver, you'd know that you can actually renew your driver's license, by just going into the system.
Yes.
We are going in that direction. I had the president recently talking about, digitizing, the process of applying for your passport as well as your Oman document. So processes have been initiated. So it is something that is in motion, and we are saying the lessons that we draw from our visits would have a bearing on how we conduct business, as a country. So the fruits are there for everybody to see. Take the issue of the visit by the Minister of Education to Finland. So where are we now? We are saying we want an economy that produces a product which has certain skills that we need. Not only knowing, but also the ability to do. And that is what the Finnish education system is all about, right? So the visits are an imperative. We don't exist in an island. And by the way, our geography and circumstances actually dictate that we pursue such a foreign policy of establishing bilateral relations with countries that are like-minded. Estonia is a case in point. Hungary is a case in point.
Thank you. I think you've answered it to the full potential right there, but also linked to that question and being also a question that we have going around or making heat waves is that our economy right now is a bit challenged, and we're seeing these visits taking place. And as much as they are important, as you have clearly outlined, and they do cost a significant amount of money, and we are seeing how our economy or our government employees are being prepared. We prioritize things. Which ones really should come first if it comes to satisfying government employees, or just generally our economy, taking care of how we spend, frugality and stuff like that? What would you say in that area?
Well, I think we've put our best foot forward as a country by ensuring that the president, embarks on these trips. The VP, who is also the Minister of Finance, embarks on these trips. And if you look at it, it is the top, diplomats that actually embark on these visits. Now, if the president stays home, who's going to source funding for us, given the circumstances that we are grappling with, as a country? So his visits are a priority. And you look at the places that he goes to. Recently, he was in New York, right?
Yes.
Talking to, people who buy our diamonds. Now, how do you convince them when you are not closer to them? So you need to sell your story, to them, in order for them for you to get buy-in. So the president needs to travel, and if you look at it, it is not like he's traveling on a day-to-day basis. It's systematic. It is planned. You go to New York because folks who buy diamonds are there, right? So it is absolutely important. And by the way, Hungary is known for its tourism. So we need to rebrand our tourism approach and benchmark. So it is absolutely necessary. That is how you generate money really for the economy.